Feast on his flesh.
Hello everyone and welcome to Action RPG. I'm your host Aaron, and for today's video we're headed to the world of Last Epoch with Warlock Week Day 2. And what do I have for you today? Soul Feast. Feast on the souls of cursed enemies, dealing necrotic damage to them and drawing fragments of their souls back to you. The soul fragments each grant 3 ward when they reach you, feasting up to 13 enemies, prioritizing the closest ones. Scaling tags, necrotic, spell, and intelligence. Obviously 4% for each intelligence point, and added spell damage applied at 250% effectiveness. Now, Soul Feast on your attack bar, trying to use it against cursed enemies, it won't work. So let me just show you quickly how it actually functions. We are now at the training dummies. It's the easiest to explain it here. Now, Soul Feast, again, in its base form, this is default, we're not even spec'd into it. When you are attacking the training dummies, it does nothing. It's worthless, okay? But apply a bone curse to it, and now you are ripping that damage out of the target, and again, bringing those fragments back to you, which is going to generate more survivability with ward. So what we're going to start with is the top left of the skill tree, because there's a way of getting around needing that curse on the target. Now, of course, you do want enemies to be cursed, but there is a way around it. So let's cover some of these nodes. You have hunger, cast speed, mana efficiency. You have a way to boost the fragments that come back to you and have a chance to gain haste. And then you got this beautiful node right here, Grand Imprint. Soul Feast no longer requires targets to be cursed and no longer has a target limit, but now all of its hits are a small cone in front of you. And my first Warlock reveal video, which was yesterday, showed Soul Feast with this node. Thought it'd be easier to show off how the attack actually looks. And you could further boost this with increased area and increased frailty chance. Let's check this out in action.
Before me.
So now let's talk the bottom left of this tree. You have Poisoned Husks, which is poison chance. You have Hellmind, which is damn chance per intelligence. You have Life, which is necrotic penetration with damned. And then for any minion fans out there, I've got a node for you. And just before I show off this node, I just want to say, from a naming perspective, this is my favorite node. Somebody in the comments section is going to get this. I'm not going to say it out loud. I want to see if anybody knows why in the comment sections. We have the node, No Rest for the Wicked. When you kill a damned enemy with Soul Feast, you have a chance to grant your minions Frenzy for 3 seconds. And with 2 points allocated, it's a 26% chance. Now, to all you Necro fans, I didn't say to any Necro fans, I said Minion fans, because unfortunately, Soul Feast is for Warlock only. You cannot use this skill as a Necromancer. Somebody out there understands why this node is funny. Moving on down to Disease Soul. Casting Soul Feast grants you a chance to poison enemies with all 4 hits for 4 seconds. This also inflicts you with poison. This buff cannot stack. So you get a boost to your global poison chance, and you're putting poison stacks on yourself. Now, something very interesting, if there's people out there that love armor stacking, when it comes to survivability, node Toxic Craving is huge. Soul Feast consumes poison stacks you have applied to the target, granting you more armor, multiplicative, and additional poison resistance per stack. You can stack your own armor and poison resistance, and it is unlimited amount of times. Unlimited. Absolutely huge. You have Queen of the Flies. When you hit a poison enemy, Soul Feast spreads its stacks to other enemies. And last but not least, corrosion. You can transfer poison. You can convert poison to armor shred, which is going to give you a bigger armor shred percent. And the poison that you were putting on yourself, the poison stack, it is now armor shred. So you'll be applying armor shred on yourself. Let's see this in action. Now let's talk about the top right of this tree. A couple of interesting things in here. You have Soul Seeker. Soul Fragments grants additional ward based on your intelligence. Pretty basic. You have a way to spread applied curses. When Soul Feast hits a cursed enemy with Spirit Plague, Decrepify, Mark of Death, or Penance, it spreads those curses from that enemy to a number of other enemies 5 meters away. So you get all your curses on the target, and then you start hitting them with Soul Feast, and you could ping those from target to target. It's very, very cool. Engorge. Soul Feast costs less mana and has a chance based on your current mana to draw back greater soul fragments, which grant more ward multiplicative. Greater ward fragments. And I'll show you ward a little bit with this in a second. You have Withering Maw. Soul Feast inflicts Withering on hit and ailment, which increases the curse damage taken. Now, I covered Withering during my passive tree breakdown. If you did not see that video, it is linked in the description and at the end, but I will cover it again. Each stack of Withering increases damage taken from curses by 10%, 6% against players and bosses. Lasts 3 seconds. It can stack 20 times. To round out the top right of this tree, you have Rest. Soul Fragments from rare or boss enemies grant significantly more ward. And lastly, you have a way of, when you hit enemies with Soul Feast, you can grant mana back to yourself based upon if it being a rare enemy or a boss. So you could also use this as a mana generator based upon the situation you're in. So let's take a look at ward generation simply from these nodes. Okay, we're going to take Grand Imprint so I could spam the skill. We're going to take Soul Seeker, and we're going to take Engorged.
Feel my wrath.
I'd like to pause for a second and just say awesome job EHG on these new Warlock skills. I just can't wait for players to get this class in their hands. There's so many different options. 1.0 is gonna be fire, or I guess fire and necrotic. Let's cover the bottom of this tree. You have Bones of the Accursed. This is hit damage per curse and more ward per curse multiplicative. So again, I'm going to say it in every single video, there are so many bonuses to ensuring you have as many curses on the target as possible. You have Sharpened Influence, mana efficiency, and maximum targets. So if you put 3 points here, you can now hit a maximum of 19 enemies. You have Grim Affliction. This is a blanket 35% multiplicative damage, but your ward generation is cut in half. You have Original Sin. If a number of cursed enemies within 15 meters is at or below threshold shortly after you cast Soul Feast, then a number of enemies within range are marked for death. So you also have a built-in way with Soul Feast to apply the curse marked for death. Now, before we get into this red section over here, which will complete our skill breakdown, I need to talk through Infernal Hunger. If you go 2 seconds without directly casting Soul Feast, you gain a stack of Infernal Hunger. When you next cast Soul Feast directly, all stacks of Infernal Hunger are consumed to cast Soul Feast an additional time per stack. Let's check this out in action. We are now in the home stretch. Let's cover these final red nodes here in the corner, which you might guess what they are. Blood Feast. Your Soul Feast base necrotic damage is now converted to physical, and your ward fragments are now health. And for you bleed fans, it gets better. Incision. Soul Feast now has a chance to cause enemies to bleed, and physical ailment damage per 100 missing health 1%. It gets better. Blood Tethers. Soul Feast has a chance to cast Blood Tether on enemies it hits at 7%, and if you put 3 points in, 21%. Aaron, what the hell is a Blood Tether? What a good question, you ask. Blood Tether is a spell that attaches to an enemy, drawing blood from them to deal physical damage over time. 25% of the damage dealt is leached as health. An enemy cannot have more than one tether at a time. Tethers last 5 seconds. Last 2 notes. Blood from Souls. When you kill an enemy with Soul Feast, it has a chance to create blood splatter around the target. And last but not least, Crimson Bounty. Soul Feast can hit more targets. Let's check out some Soul Feast Bleed Edition.
Feel my wrath.
All right, everyone, that's going to do it for Warlock Week Day 2. Stay tuned tomorrow when I do the full reveal of Profane Veil and Chaos Bolts. There is still so much to discuss with Warlock. And again, if you want to chat, if you want to talk through everything that's been showcased, I will be live on Air in Action RPG on Twitch tonight. It should be a fun, good stream, so come check it out. I'm done. Hopefully you're entertained or at least learned something. Aaron.